Welcome back, everyone. I know a little bit earlier I might have been a bit silly with my introductions, but there is no time to be silly. This is all business now. This is Game 3 between WE and Snake in the Chongqing Arena. What could be a decider for the whole series and potentially playoff seeding. And Game 1 and Game 2 is already pretty close. It's looking like it's going to be a banger of a Game 3.
The hectic thing about this set so far is that when you look at Game 1, Snake had control in the early game. They had control in the mid-game. They bodied Magic, and they actually put him in that body bag. SOFM made sure of it personally, seeing him at red buffs. And then they controlled and closed out the rest of that game. I do credit a lot of that to the Camille pick from SOFM, the fact that they had the Galio. And so you come into the second game, and it actually starts again. You know, Snake, they get the early leads. They start generating picks, and they're setting themselves up to succeed. But then WE bounce back, and they show their signature self with the big team fight, the big wombo with the signature champions. And so moving into a third game, if we've seen the strengths of both teams now colliding, and WE came out ahead through those strengths in the second, what does Snake actually change into a third when their style was correct and they had leads?
Yeah, it's got to be the question about the draft, right? Because in Game 1, that was how Snake were able to find those leads, by following up on SOFM on that Sejuani and tracking him around the map with the Galio. Game 2, it was sort of a similar style with the Rise instead, and then those massive team fights. So WE, clearly they've shown a tendency to prioritize those late-game team fights as they do. Can they allow that? Can Snake allow that to happen again?
I liked the priority from WE in the second game towards the Galio, and I do think that whilst the Rise was a strong pick and a viable option from Snake, I think the draft is the place that has to change. You ban the Galio potentially, and then pick the Rise still. If it's something that you want to play, don't give them the pure wombo. Don't give them the Gnar, Jarvan, and Galio trio to win the game with. Because it's not hard to be a Jarvan in that composition. If Cher is the one shot calling constantly, he just has go, and Jarvan actually just goes, and it works.
Well, we'll see if we're going to have that happen once again here in this Game 3, because Shia's shot calling has brought Snake down in that Game 2, bringing WE to a Game 3 in front of the fans. You've already heard how loud they were in Game 1 and Game 2. Who is going to take it this time?
And speaking of, remember that Team WE have side selection in this one, I believe, Dom, and they will most likely be choosing themselves red again. The reason that I think they should be choosing red is that last pick. It's the last pick for Xie. The fact that they can give him a character that he wants. It was a Galio in Game 2. They'd set themselves up to succeed through the team fighting with that. And I do think that even if it gets focused in Game 3, they should give him the last pick. Doesn't have to be a Corki, doesn't have to be a Galio, but for a man that has a wealth of champions available to him, and with the fact that Mystic even got his MVP in that second game, I know I keep mentioning it, but there's always still the come.
There absolutely is. I mean, it's a strategy that we saw last week from Team WE. We just heard from the analyst desk how excellent Mystic's performance was. We could even see it ourselves. Luckily, we were here watching the game too.
Yes,
Mystic,
luckily we were.
Could he be back online? Could it be happening?
I don't want to say that, because I said that like 2 weeks ago, and then the next set he just completely blundered.
Yeah.
But I think it's the result of...
It's playoffs, right? It's the pressure is mounting, and diamonds aren't forged under cool, calm conditions. They are forged under fire and heat.
And pressure.
Yes, Rusty.
Definitely.
That is the word that I didn't say there for a reason.
But it's still true. I don't think that I would credit all of it to Mystic, though. Yeah. I think it's still a team thing. I do think that 957, Sierre played incredibly well in that last game, and so did Mystic, but because they all did, that's why they look so convincing in those victories. And yes, he gets the MVP. He was very valuable, but it was all of them. And without the two people standing in front of him carrying, what was Mystic going to do with a Draven sprint?
And that being said, Magic, when we've seen him turn online in the past, it's usually very difficult for him to use this phrase sparingly, turn himself back offline, if that makes sense. He's not a player to tilt and fall back down. His performances, when he finally is able to catch up and get up to speed, he doesn't lose momentum in between games. So this could be a repeat of that game, too, if Magic is able to follow up with a similar performance. But that said, we are in pick and ban for the final game in this series, the final game in the Chongqing Snake Arena, the so lovingly dubbed Snake Pit. As Owen Wilson over here just notes, Gnar banned away from 957, Camille banned away from Flandre.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they got rid of the Camille and the Gnar. Both target picks towards the top lane now going to be removed, and Snake have innovated this time around. They're sick of the Sejuani. They want nothing to do with it. Get it out of here. They expect Magic's going to pick something like the Jarvan, and they may as well see it first before they try and take him down. I think it's what they're looking towards now. SOFM may be getting a little bit more empowered, and they've taken away the WE first pick standard.
Varus is now the follow-up from Team WE, so already we can see WE perhaps returning towards an older standard, the very early AD carry priority, as it's not only Varus, but also Braum to match across from that Tahm Kench. That said, Sejuani, Jarvan, Olaf, all of those junglers are open. So is that Ryze, and Guogo, like you said, he was having the game of his life in Game 2.
Yeah, he did a lot of work, and the Ryze is still a very good option for him. Now, the Galio is up and available, however, so there's always going to be the counter option here for Team WE with the Varus and the Braum locked in. That's not the part of their composition that reveals their full team strategy. It's just a good pick that comes from those two. Stable bottom lane, the ultimates are there, the Q is there, and they're able to lock down their targets. And Snake have responded with, actually, I do kind of like this. Even though it's into the Braum, I think Crystal wants that comfortable option.
It's Jhin Tahm Kench into what was a Jhin Braum earlier, but 957 is the one taking Ornn here in this next round for the picks of WE. That means junglers will fall to the wayside, along with the top laners for Snake as they continue to ban away Flandre's Gangplank. He's already shown a great carry performance in Game 1. They don't want to let that happen in Game 3.
I think Snake have finally adapted to the drafting phase of Team WE here by going for the Zoe ban in their second ban phase. They banned it in the first 3 for the last couple of times, but this time around they've acknowledged that Xie is always getting a later rotation. So why go for the Zoe ban? Maybe even bait them into picking the Zoe early so that you get a better draft overall. If it doesn't happen, they get what they need out of this. And with all that top lane focus from Flandre, and with the Ornn already locked in, it does start to get very difficult for him to find a champion that he wants to play that isn't a tank.
Yeah, that's the big 3 gone. The Camille, the Gangplank, and that Gnar. It should be noted, though, Vladimir is still open, and that has been a Snake special in the past.
And Ryze, if need be, can still be flexed towards that top lane for a couple of teams in the LPL, and Flandre is one of those people. Right now, with the expectations still being a Jarvan, we're looking towards SOFM to see what he actually has to answer that. And if he goes towards the aggressive version of the Olaf, perhaps, to try and go into the jungle, clear faster than him, and just outpace him through the camp clear, or if he has something else in mind.
Sejuani could still be an option. Skarner currently the hover from SOFM. He's got a champion pool as wide as it is deep. And he can play so much here in this final game as Shen is the lock-in for Flandre, putting that Ryze into the mid lane. Final pick will be for SOFM in the jungle to round it out, but that's Ornn Shen, 2 tanks who can quite easily affect the rest of the map.
Now you say that, but Flandre is a very unique type of Shen that I'm sure we'll get into further as the game progresses, but he's not your everyday run-of-the-mill, I am a tank Shen in the top lane. He's usually a Trinity Force Shen. And of course, the composition from Snake does get rounded out with what's usually seen as the counter towards the Olaf, but is also just generally very good into tanks right now. That is the Trundle.
Trundle locked in for SOFM in the jungle. This is interesting. As now the final pickup for Xie will once again be that Galio, precisely a 50% win rate here in the LPL. Very high popularity champion showing up in a lot of games, both banned and picked, but Xie has really made a name for himself, originally on that tank Galio, but now more so on the damage Galio. As we get into this Game 3, once again, the Colosseum is ready. The Jarvan Galio combo from Magic and Xie with Mystic on that Varus to fire in from the sidelines.
The Cataclysmic Entrance combo still well and truly there. The Ornn as well being able to complement with Engage from long distances to perhaps set up the Jarvan to go forwards. Team WE, they've got what they need. They've got the tools to win this game, but Snake are the ones who have thrown a spanner into the works, honestly, with their draft, with their style of play here. The fact that they've gone for the Trundle and Jhin, I think, is a nice combo, of course. Ryze able to lock everyone down. There's still hard crowd control on the side of Snake, so Trundle doesn't need to provide that. Instead, what SOFM can do is just find Magic.
If he can do that, that means that Jarvan goes down real quick. Especially if Crystal is going to go for the big damage build that we saw from him in Game 1. But again, everything is on the line here in this game. If WE lose, they are locked into 4th place. They will be unable to catch up to Team BLG and Team Snake. And as we load onto this Game 3, the final game of the regular season, the fans were loud in Game 1 and 2. We've already talked about the bleachers shaking. This one could shake the very foundations of Chongqing itself.
It's do or die for both of these teams for placements in the playoffs. They've both secured playoffs, but where is to be determined.
Yes. And that is what we are about to find out as we get ready to load onto the Rift for the final game in the Snake Pit. It's Snake versus WE.
Starting loud and starting strong, of course. They finish at home just as strong as they started, all the fans in the Chongqing Arena. And already we've seen a little bit of vision control from the side of WE trying to be established. The flag being used by Magic actually spots out SOFM. And the reason that I bring this up is that Snake love their early vision control. They love to send one rogue member into the jungle of WE and find where he is starting or where he is not. That is the SOFM way of life. If you set him up to take extra camps, he will do that. WE actually with their response of their own.
And look at that. Early control ward in the pixel brush of Snake. Looks like it's a rejuvenation bead start from Flandre. He's the one who decides to donate that vision towards his team early on, as SOFM will take that Trundle start on blue, and Magic will get a similar blue start from Mystic and Celestial.
Amusingly, the last time that we have seen a control ward start in the LPL was another top laner, but it was an Ornn who went towards that build. And the reasoning for Ornn usually, you're like, okay, he can purchase himself some items, it's not a big deal. Shen, in this instance, is perhaps hoping to procure some items via Kleptomancy, taking them from his opponent, and that is where we have to start as well. Flandre has gone for Kleptomancy. He loves himself some Kleptomancy, Shen, especially in the tanks. The reason that he goes towards this is that he starts to outscale, and he often builds the Trinity Force, so gets towards his carry items super quickly, and becomes a very prolific split-pushing threat on the map.
Very hugely impactful if he's able to find a carry undefended. Heck, even if he doesn't. As 957, he played Shen earlier on. Will Flandre be able to match that performance or put his own spin on it? Meanwhile, Guoguo taking early control of mid lane, ticks over to level 2, as SOFM will lope his way into the jungle of Magic just in time to see the red buff being taken. But still, Guoguo hovering towards that top side. There's no way for Xie to catch up, and SOFM claims what is rightfully his.
I'll walk straight in, of course. You can see his runes, and that is pretty much the entire Raptor camp belonging to SOFM. The battle for the last one is a very heated battle.
Yeah. That's 2 small Raptors for Magic out of the entire camp, and he wastes the time sitting there.
And of course, Trundle's gone towards the press the attack. He's got presence of mind, he's got the tenacity as well. He wants to do a whole lot of tanking whilst dealing damage at the same time. On the opposite side, the secondary runes for him was the ultimate hat. Of course, you want to use that on those tanks whenever you can in team fight, so the lower the cooldown, the better it is for yourself. And it actually works very well into Aftershock. She is running that one, so anytime that the Aftershock procs, if you use the ultimate on that, you get the bonus resistances from the Aftershock, and it takes that away usually from the person as it subsides.
Interesting. SOFM playing the cerebral game with his picks so far, much like he plays the cerebral jungle match. Up in the bottom lane, Crystal once again back up in Magic. He had a better showing in that... Oh, good block with the door. He had a better showing in that game, too, with his Comfort Draven in terms of that laning phase, but all it took was one poor trade, one overextension, and it was a 30 CS lead for Mystic. Could we see him try to turn it back here in this Game 3, or will we have a similar performance to that Game 1 and Game 2? And what is the catalyst that will determine whether or not that happens? So far, it looks like it might be the junglers as Magic spots SOFM, actually uses the Aegis on himself before hopping over the wall.
Yeah, I think SOFM was looking to perhaps use the pillar and try and cancel the flag and drag if it was possible, but Magic, knowing that, psyched himself out and tried to trade against the Trundle, lost the trade and then backed away anyway, so he'll retreat back to his own jungle. SOFM went to base, does still go to his Raptor camp in the end and will secure that one, and the red buff is up and available, so it was a cheeky start from the jungler of Snake, but he's been able to hit it home quite nicely. Look at the CS differential as well between each respective jungler.
Already those Raptors coming into play, and difference between the two as Mystic constantly pushed into his turret here, catches wave after wave. Other than that, though, seems like fairly safe and standard laning phases so far. Xie is holding down the fort in mid lane. 957 happily pushing away to his heart's content in that top lane.
Almost full build on his Shen, of course. Conversely, 957 can craft his items, so neither of them need to recall if everything goes perfectly to plan. In saying that, they still need to very soon.
Top up on that health and mana, yeah.
Yeah, more importantly, don't die to Magic and SOFM. Like, imagine a Trundle's currently winning in the jungle role pretty comprehensively right now. You can see a 20 CS difference. But if you consider that that's not just a CS difference, that's an experience lead, then this starts to spill over very severely. You look towards top lane hitting level 6, there is a chance that by taking this camp and being able to go back to even his own jungle, he hits 6 as top laners do, and that's really potent.
Really is. Even Guoguo getting pulled over to further deny Magic these Raptors. SOFM has staked his claim. He is teaching Magic a lesson. You might be able to take game 2 with an excellent Cataclysm, but you will never take my Raptors. These are mine.
Remember, this is the day you almost took
your
Captain Raptor Sparrow.
My Raptor camp, you mean?
No, it's a lot of focus, but it's actually about the draft. I think that's the reason for this, of course. He can look forwards if Guoguo's able to rotate first. If Flandre is level 6, well, the junglers can't 1v1. Someone has to help Magic, but no one's really able to. But now the Xie is 6 himself, of course. You have to respect that, the follow-up at anything nearby. And that's why Guoguo needs to be there first. He'll never rotate first if they leave at the same time due to Agalio's ultimate. So he needs to make sure that he is the one moving. This doesn't end.
SOFM is actually on the blue buff right now, and I don't think Magic has any idea. I haven't seen any pings over here, though we do see a defensive ward that will spot this out, so it seems as though WE are content to give it up.
And notice SOFM pings an assist ping towards his own blue buff. Flandre, of course, at a stone's throw away from it, could perhaps walk over and ward. They are moving towards mid lane.
Xie is...
This is all a sprint to the enemy, to the allied blue buff, rather. They're going straight over to their own. That Rise ultimate is actually just trying to give him that Silk Road in. Make it as easy for him as possible.
Yeah, WE, they see that this is happening. The best that they can end up doing is warding it and taking Scuttle Crab. Even Teleport being used by Flandre to get up here just in case.
Get your popcorn out because you're going to spend a lot of time watching SOFM jungling. Magic, not the ideal position for himself, but he is still getting jungle camps. He's getting closer to level 6. Once he gets that, he could impact the map. He could influence it with the Cataclysm, have the Galio. Coming bottom lane is a very viable strategy for the side of Team WE here, as it's a Braum this time around with the Varus, so they can engage.
It's certainly much easier to catch some folks if you can find them, but that said, it is against a Tahm Kench. Shujiai holding onto his flash to save anyone just in case.
The reason that I think they can, though, is that Tahm Kench has switched to teleport and he's just used it to get to lane.
Yes.
There's no cleanse. He didn't actually switch over to the cleanse at level 6. Normally,
and that's where the Braum comes in.
Yeah, normally you want to see a Tahm Kench switch to cleanse against a Varus and a Braum if their sole purpose is to come towards you. And if you look at the enemy composition, you need to have your flash up at all times, otherwise you are dead. So you want to switch over to the cleanse to ensure that the small skirmishes that may be unfavorable still get you out of line.
Snake seemed to be aware of this. Look at how far back Hujier is playing. He doesn't quite know where that Jarvan is, but he does have an idea, as currently there's a control ward placed at the blue buff.
What he doesn't know is that Magic is still level 5.
Yeah. It's pretty slow for this one. SOFM a full 2 levels ahead. He's got the highest experience differential of all junglers in the league. And he's adding to those stats right here and now. Xie is even being denied a recall as he nearly has his teleport. And still SOFM is denying vision, fighting over every little thing. The Raptor camp is there. Ooh. And Smite is actually used by Mystic to pick it up. Now he's level 6. Now SOFM maybe not going to be in such a great spot to challenge it. Magic forces the engage. Hero's entrance. That's a Cataclysm, but Stand United means the fight turns into a 3v2. Xie is the target as they turn. Here comes 957. He's joined as well, but it's first blood to Guoguo. SOFM backs away, and Magic will die as well. A double kill to the mid laner of Snake.
I feel like this is a case of forgetting that once again that a Shen exists. Yeah. Shen uses the ultimate, comes into the fight, and makes the difference because they don't get themselves the kill very early on. In fact, they don't get one at all, and by the smallest margins of health, SOFM does get to survive. Now, of course, he goes forwards here, uses the ultimate, realizes that Shen's coming, and they choose to select Xie. He's the member that they want to kill. 957 tries to contribute, use the ultimate, but his team's dying, and he just has to sit there and watch him die because the Shen gets into the fight with the ultimate, doesn't just throw it on.
And Guoguo, with the tier and Catalyst, was just firing off shots. Look at that. He's 1,000 gold ahead, already finished off the Abyssal Mask.
This is worst case scenario for Team WE because it's not just a jungle lead, it's spilling over to lanes. This is Snake playing the Snake special right now. It's strategically get SLFM ahead, use him as a point of focus, have the Shen to actually enable him to go further and get more from it. They are pushing now for the maximum, but more so because WE seem frustrated or they're taking disadvantageous trades when they shouldn't be, and they have no right going for them.
WE, though, still have got a strong late game composition if they're able to scale this game out, if they're allowed to make it to that point.
I feel like this is risky.
Yeah, Snare actually locks onto Mystic. That's the Realm Warp to get Guoguo in, chilling Smite, and immediately Mystic is dead. They're opening up with the curtain call. Celestial tries to kite it back. The bullet hits him once again. Guoguo snipes the kill away from Crystal as Magic is just forced to back away. 4 kills to Snake as SOFM is just declaring that he wants to win this game.
He certainly is. He walks bottom, just dives in. It almost feels too casual from the side of Snake being successful with that. Now they go bottom. They get themselves the first turret of the game. I'd like to see solo gold, of course, going over to Crystal if possible. SLFM's already far enough ahead that he doesn't need to be here for this, so they will do exactly that. Snake mounting themselves a monumental lead.
Oof. It's all 3 lanes that are performing well from Snake in this game 3. 3 kills on Guoguo, 2 assists onto Crystal and that solo gold, another 2 assists onto Flandre.
Oh.
WE, look, we talk about them losing gracefully. This isn't it.
Across the board, all that's left is 957 to die once, and then it's just teamwork at its finest from WE. But no, this is so much a jungle-oriented game.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe this right now. SLFM's putting on a clinic. He has destroyed the side of WE near single-handedly, but I don't want to discredit his laners, of course, for helping him in doing so.
It is a good performance from Snake to collapse and follow up on that. Now, the last time these two teams played, Snake took the series 2-0, so perhaps they were expecting a similar result this time around, and were annoyed, angered by the fact... Angrified? What the...
What?
Angered by the fact that WE brought it to Game 3 in their home arena, in their house, on the last day.
Ramping up for playoffs as well. Very important that you look in the best form that you possibly can. And that's what this game feels like to me. Yeah. This could not be more picture perfect, a Snake style of play. The way they've executed, it's impressive. Now they move towards the last remaining thing that you would expect. Now they've got turrets to break down. The Jhin is unlocked though and has rushed an Infinity Edge. So they're maximizing their damage output now, sooner rather than later. And that's where you're looking. It'll be top lane, it'll be mid lane, Rift Herald as well in the middle of both of them. Get the vision, do both, do it all.
And right now, this Game 3 isn't even looking close. 4,000 gold ahead. They're already turning onto the Rift Herald as bottom is taken. Crystal swaps top, and though Mystic is trekking it top to try to defend, that's still a full wave that Snake will get to hammer onto it.
Everyone's here from Team WE, and it feels like they are going to try and push SOFM away from doing the Herald. That's the pit of destiny almost for Team WE. Yes, that was a tenacious D reference there. Hell yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Wasn't even intentional, but I'm going to own
the
it.
The pit of destiny. That said, they're unable to dance with the devil just yet.
I've opened a can of worms.
You have now. Because this is the best game in the world from Snake. They couldn't remember.
Well, now you just,
how it went.
That's it, it's over.
Okay, 14 minutes. And Rift Herald was picked up by Snake. I mean, this isn't Atch Ketchum versus Gary Oak. This isn't like an even head-to-head rivalry matchup. This is Gary Oak versus Bug Trainer. And WE, they had a good game too, but...
Here comes the Rise ultimate.
Yeah, that's immediately it. They dive onto Celestial. This could actually be a bit too much. SOFM uses the Subjugate to give himself some extra resistances, but he is saved by Hujie. They get the kill and immediately turn onto the Tier 1.
Yeah, they just get out perfectly fine, pretty much unscathed from that. WE having to flash away, Mystic already being dead, the turret falls. They have still got the Herald buff to use in mid lane. Exactly what we expected from Snake, and most importantly, they've just done it. A team that has a very long average game time in our league as well when winning. They're speeding up the pace of this game, and they are getting so far ahead. so quickly.
Absolutely. We have to ask, where has this Snake been all year, all split? Why is it week 10, the last game in their arena, the last possible game of this final match, that we're seeing them start to pick up the pace?
I think it's just that Snake went missing in the middle of the split, but they found themselves one more time. Losing 3 times over to the top 3 of the East is annoying, may affect your team's mentality perhaps, but ultimately they've come back to the West. They're starting to get those wins back again. They found themselves one more time, and now they're pushing towards the mid lane outer turret. At the very least, they're going to chunk it low.
They do some big damage, but Xie, along with Celestial and Magic, stand their ground to keep the turret standing. But like you said, it does take a big chunk of damage. And in the meantime, Snake is going to use that, well, I say Snake, SOFM is going to happily invade and press into the enemy jungle and start setting up wards. You can already see the ward line across the map from Snake has pushed past the river into the jungle of WE.
From the current lane assignments, however, this is the most terrifying part for WE, and it's not even the gold lead. It's actually where the players are set up. A Tahm Kench and a Jhin sieging mid lane. Imagine SOFM running into your jungle now. Those two are just going to immediately rotate with the Abyssal Voyage. You've got a Shen that's always going to be a stone's throw away, and a Ryze ultimate.
That's what we see right now, the exact combo you mentioned, and the Realm Warp is all of Snake show up on the bottom half of the map, with the exception of SOFM.
I'm glad I said it and they did it, but it's unfortunate with how they did it. They just didn't find the pick that they were after in the end. Still, that is a good look in. The turret in the mid lane is gone regardless, so they can continue to set themselves up as they are. They don't have the teleport from Guo though, so that's not optimal in terms of lane assignments from top to bottom if they're going to try and focus out 957.
And as you mentioned, that Xie did push into the top wave, so already the proper response from Snake to catch as many minions as they possibly can. Now there are 60 seconds until that Mountain Dragon is up. And with Guo, the guy who's got 3 kills for the team of Snake, the majority of that gold in his pocket, on the other side of the map, there could be an opportunity for WE to try to extend this out a bit.
That is partially correct. Right now they're trying to kill him, so they've actually put themselves all towards the top lane, Magic hovering the area with Xie. That's where their combo is.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct, though.
The thing that still gets me is like 4v4, even though he's 3-0-2, I still don't think WE will win the 4v4. Okay. They need to have a numbers advantage. Snake need to be at a disadvantage to be able to trade, honestly, in these games. Trundle's too strong. He can't, like Jarvan rather, can't deal with him. Xie can't really deal with Guo, and Mystic and Celestial are struggling to deal with Crystal and Hurier. So the individuals they are losing. They need to bring Magic somewhere, they need to bring Xie with him, and they need to force the trade. If they trade down, as long as they're trading, that is something that you can look towards. And for me, I would sacrifice the Dragon completely. I'd actually move all of our members to the top lane. I'd just try and get that outer turret if you could, if you're WE.
That said, WE, instead they make the wrong decision and find themselves giving up the Dragon for just about nothing, as Snake instead are the ones who pick up and swap to the other side of the map. So perhaps WE find themselves reeling at how quickly this game has exploded out of their control. It's double mountain for Snake. And Flandre, he was the one pushing up top. He didn't have teleport, but he did have Stand United. So even if WE were feeling a bit frisky, Flandre could have just hopped in.
So they could have. Of course, the lane assignments from WE aren't really set up for the Baron either. And Flandre now being here with 957 means that Snake, they've moved towards the bottom lane easy as you'd like. They've utilized Hurier's ultimate as well in that Tahm Kench to go down there and pressure it. He's now just on your screen, waddling towards mid lane. That's where the control lies. All of the vision wards, all the control wards are there in the blue side jungle of WE, and that's what they're utilizing as their pivot.
We're seeing pings back and forth, mid and bottom, the push and pull, and WE are the ones trying to juggle these spinning plates that Snake just keep on setting higher and higher. The mid tier 2 is slowly taking some chip damage from Crystal, and so is the bottom from Guo. Something is going to give, and it's not going to be Snake's Siege.
Unfortunately for WE, it is going to start giving very soon. A banner of command has been secured now in the top lane as the second item of choice from Flandre. What's an Ornn to do against that? He's not going to have a very good time trying to clear it. So that turret starts to fall, or at least a lot of time is spent by 957 to deal with that. Xie can't deal with that. There's magic damage from Mystic as well, so he has to just purely auto-attack to secure it. And from that, it actually unlocks an unlimited potential, honestly, to the side of Snake. They could be anywhere on the map, put the banner anywhere opposing side of the map, and secure the objective where they are.
And Now, let's see where they decide to head after the recall. Flandre is heading bottom. Baron has just spawned, and with the bottom tier 2 taken, that's a lot more room for Flandre to push around in. Not to mention there are still wards for him to hang on, but already Magic, he's trying to regain some ground for WE. He groups up with Celestial. They're rocking some control wards to try and claim some vision. Oh, Sweeper will spot that ward.
He knows it's
but
there.
It just fades away.
Yeah, he won't be able to clear that one. So vision will still be secured, but of course the fact that he knows it's there, and there's 3 control wards for Celestial, that's the name of the game plan right now. Clear out the wards, set yourself up. Don't let Snake do Baron.
So this is a bit interesting. SOFM has built the Zeke's Convergence 2 games in a row now.
Yeah, he's done it again. It's curious. Of course, the last game I would have preferred if it was something like the Warmogs.
Oh, yeah,
he wanted to empower the Draven. This time around, the Zeke's Convergence. We'll have to see who he actually puts it on. I have a feeling that putting it on someone like the Shen may even work wonders for them to get the Ice and Fire procs going together. Trundle will always use the ult at the start of a fight, so it's a very easy way to proc that one out. It's cost efficient as an item choice as well, and this is actually just generally the Trundle standard for items as they go. It could well be a banner, could be a locket, but this is what they want.
Magic over the wall, zoned away from the Baron. He doesn't even get a ward over the side, as already Snake are playing that Baron dance. They don't have to worry about the tier 1 that was in game 2 that prevented them from claiming so much vision, and already they are accelerating the pace of this game. Look at the gold difference between 80 carries alone.
And top
1,700
lane.
Top lane. That's another, what is that, 2,200?
Yeah, he's very far ahead. Far enough ahead, you might say, to get a Trinity Force. If you were Flandre, he's got himself the Stinger, so that's where we're going.
Ah, yes.
Sure,
the
Raz
classic
is
Trinity Force.
Always clapping his hands with joy. The fact that we get to see the Flandre special. I think it's great. I actually really enjoy that this is a strategy that he has made for himself, and that he is committing to going towards because it works. Every single if you pick a tank into Flandre's Shen, you know he's going Kleptomancy, you know he's building Trinity Force, and you know he's going to outscale you in the 1v1.
Oh, go. Taking some damage there. Now, we do see the Baron Gate Ward still active for Team WE. They might not have a lot of vision, but they still have some semblance of control as they try to hold on. But this is the part where we look to the team losing gracefully. They've managed to slow Snake for now, but Snake, they're just waiting for the right moment to strike. Their fangs are bared.
Yeah, it's hard to actually get that pick generated as the 3-man unit they were standing there. It's all about Rise, and a single flash will disengage. QSS isn't available yet, though, so it is super easy to follow the pickup with damage if they can use that Rise. But they can't always keep him around. So that's where it gets really difficult and really trying for Snake. The generic 3-man unit that they've got running around is a Jhin, Tahm, Kench, Trundle. You can hit a pillar, maybe you can hit the tongue and slow them down, but they're just going to walk away from you.
And that's what we see here. As Magic, once again, steps up, is slowed on the way out, but that's a lot of members of WE there. Magic, look at the burst. That's the subjugate. And he's forced to back away. The jungler is now disengaged from this fight. Meanwhile, the 2 top laners are skirmishing on the other half of the map. A blast going in immediately. They turn it onto the Baron. Remember, it's double mountain. I like where your head is at, Rusty.
WE is still
turn
here,
into
though.
it. Over the wall, it's Xie Flash, and he
got it?
steals it away. Magic holds his ground. The Flash, and he is not able to get in. The only person who goes is Hujie carrying Guogo. Celestial is trying to get in there to save him and do even more. Hujie retreating, Guogo with the shield, but it's a fight on 2 fronts, and Xie finally dies to Crystal. Curtain Call is the first bullet, is the second bullet, it's the third bullet, and the 4th hits Celestial, but it's 7 kills to 0, and Baron saved by WE.
Snake get a 2-0 trade in the end, right? And they just, oh my god, what more could they possibly do wrong in that fight and still come out ahead? The Baron stolen by Magic, Rise ultimate flashes away. I hope we get to see a replay because a lot of it was messy, but Snake are good enough players that they make it work. They'll secure themselves an Infernal Drake, and yes, the Baron is stolen away. An unfortunate circumstance and end result for Snake, but they are still 7,000 gold ahead. We get to see this again. Well done from Magic. He is gone. From this point, SFM, he is not in it. But then they're going to have to just save Pride for Guoguo the whole time. Hudier just keeps him inside his belly for the full duration, runs away, and they do keep him alive. And because of that, they get a second pick on Xie on the backside. It's a 2 for 0. Everything gets to subside with an Infernal Drake, and it's still a big gold lead for them. But WE bought time. Magic bought them time.
That he did. He's able to keep his cool and help his team stay alive for just a bit longer. And this is getting more and more dangerous. Now it's 7,500 gold for Snake, but with that Baron buff, it's much more difficult for the team to try to break any turrets.
Fun speculative theory, of course, that I'm gonna say to you.
Hit me.
If you go for Trinity Force Shen as your third item, you've gone for the Banner of Command second. What is the counter to Banner of Command, Dom? It is Banner of Command.
I was going to go with Zerat Portal.
No, the only counter to Zerat Portal is Zerat Portal. The counter of Banner of Command
I see.
is Banner of Command. If your third item is a Trinity Force, that is physical damage that you're dealing.
Could you imagine if we had those rules for rock, paper, scissors?
And scissors is the only thing that beats scissors.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be horrible.
It would make for some very interesting games because everyone either loses or wins.
Best of twos.
Just like the LPL in 2015. But you already mentioned the Banner of the Command now being used by 957 in the bottom lane to counter out Flandres. Both of them have used each other's.
The point I was making, though, is that the Trinity Force kills it quicker, so perhaps he's built himself for a dueling counter for the itemization.
That's a knock-up and the stand united onto Hudye. Crystal dancing around the side. Still going to be firing shots across. Baron is only up for 45 seconds. The clock is ticking on WE's grace period.
Yeah, the clock's ticking on their ability to defend above all else here as well. They've bought some time, perhaps some items, perhaps some vision, but the 1-3-1 is already in place from Snake against the Baron buff WE. They are just going to start bleeding objectives like it's no man's business. It's going to start falling from
Tier 2, yeah. Will break. That's all of the outers, all of the inners gone. 15 seconds on that Baron buff. And even while trying to stall and hold on with the Baron buff, they lost both of those tier 2s. So still the threat of Snake's raw stat advantage is enough. Guoguo is single-handedly smashing Xie.
He is. He's able to poke away at the turret up here in the top lane. Xie doesn't have the best time trying to stop him. There's no flash on the Galio either. So actually being there and pressing to stop it is, here we go. The most depressing thing in the world.
That's it. This is what we want to see.
Get it. He's playing one for all the other day.
Sad auto attacks.
I was against a bunch of tanks, and they slept on the fact that my Banner of Command would smash them with any kind of damage at all. So I built a Banner of Command and built tank next to them. It was great.
Feels good.
It got a double. I actually got a Banner of Command double.
Whoa, Magic forces the engage onto Hudye. He's the support, and he's nice and tanky, but isn't able to get himself a shield. Knockup hits Crystal, and look at that. WE haven't found one, but they've found two. Guoguo on the side. Scares Magic back away, but suddenly, from the woodwork, 5 members of WE erupt.
He pushes them back. WE, from the jaws of death, honestly, will get themselves a pick. And now, pushing forwards to get a turret, they may get the gold closer to about 8,000. It's the best case scenario here for WE, though. It's still 8,000. It means they got a usage out of the Baron buff, amusingly, after it had already subsided. Snake are going to play slowly, you would expect, and you wait for that next Baron buff to spawn because that's their way into breaking the game by breaking the base open. Against the Galio, Jarvan, Ornn, and Varus even, try pushing into that without the Baron.
And this is, again, where we look to Xie, who was just on your screen. You could see him speaking to his team, perhaps shot calling here. This is where we look to the leadership, finding that vulnerability in the siege from Snake and snatching themselves a tier 1 turret by lashing out and finding their first kills of the game. In doing so, they deny the perfect game from Snake. That's where that was their first 2 kills and their first turret. Still, WE hold on to this. They're not dead just yet.
They are clinging on like their playoff seed depends on it.
Which it does.
Which it definitely does.
Yes.
We're still waiting for Xie, by the way. If you're wondering why Magic had gone from blue, got it low, went over to his Gromp, he was buying time and he didn't want to give a chance to the Snake to look at it and steal it away. Give it over to their mid laner. I like that from WE, good communication. The blue buff is incredibly valuable for WE at this point in the game, with 50 seconds till an Infernal and 1 minute till the Baron.
You can see SOFM. I love how he's even at the Raptor camp. When there's there's nowhere else for him to be. He can't siege, he can't look for picks or anything, so he just defaults to go to the Raptor camp and laugh emotes.
He's doing the correct thing, though, by standing in the one place in the enemy jungle where they don't have vision.
Yeah.
He is currently just a standing ward. So what else is a Trundle to do but laugh at that fact?
A dance?
He could dance.
His dance is pretty good.
He chose an emote. Unfortunately, he chose wrong, but I admire the laughing.
Snake, though, they're not rushing for the Baron. They're rushing for the Infernal Dragon. Remove all chances for WE to come back in this series.
Exactly.
10 seconds on the clock for it to spawn, and WE, they are running out of avenues to turn to.
Once again, Snake utilizing Guogo as someone to take the objectives by himself. They make sure that the Ryze has a blue buff, and that blue buff Ryze can pretty much walk over and start the objectives off easy as you'd like. WE on the opposite side, knowing that the Infernal Drake is a place that they'll at least look at. They can't start the Baron, it's not available until right now. So they don't really get a window of opportunity to do anything other than place Vision. And again, it's all about buying that time, and maybe that's an extra 1 minute spent where Snake just clear wards out. They don't do the Baron. That's a good minute.
They're going to look for SOFM, who stepped forward. Knock up its only Flandre. Crystal on the side decides to turn it with the curtain call. Celestial in the front. Pops open the door, and the Glacial Fissure. Shadow Dash, look at the damage Flandre is doing as Celestial forced to flash him back away. Mystic kiting it out in the back. Magic finds a good Cataclysm. They use the combo, but Knockup doesn't find anyone.
That's
Celestial is dead. Magic flashes back. Xie forced to flash himself. He has to turn and enter the fight because it's a Knockup, and Snake are successfully tracking it down. They found 2 kills so far. Nearly, that's going to be 3 kills as Mystic and Magic run to the hills trying to get back.
Nowhere to go.
But nowhere is safe. Snake just decide to run their stats in. Now it's 3 kills. Wait, Rusty, are they going to try to end the game here?
Straight towards the bottom lane. They're not going to the Baron buff. Crystal and Guogo are stuck until the minions come in. At the very least, you would expect an inhibitor to be seen with 30 seconds on the carries. I think going for the end is risky, but it's the decision that Snake have decided to make right now.
Teleport is going to get Hujie back in. SOFM in the front, tanking the turret. Magic is going to try to keep himself up. That's going to be Call of the Forge God. Knock up onto 3, but it's 5 versus 3. Snake continue to fire shot after shot. They may have dropped a few games last this series, but no one forgets when they went nearly undefeated. This is their house. This is the Snake Pit. And Rusty, this is Snake taking the series 2-1.
The stars align for Snake Esports. They get the Drakes, they get the team fights, and SOFM has an outstanding game number 3 performance, going into the jungle, netting himself such a large lead, an incomprehensible lead for WE to try and come back from. Their mid lane control, their top lane control, they did it all expertly, and this is the Snake Esports that you want to see going into the playoffs. This is that Snake in Week 10 form that you hope to see, that has very rarely existed since Snake's inception into the league.
Yes. Always the dark horse, always the team to upset and surprise, never the favorites themselves. But those Snake might be second in their group right now. They could be saying they very well could go first. As they try to finish off here, a deep bow from the players. The final time they're going to bow before this arena of fans. As Snake have now finished off their 2018 spring season at a grand score of 12-7.
Locking themselves in playoffs is a wonderful thing to have secured for yourself. Second place is a bit bittersweet though, if they're able to stay there. That does pit you against IG if you're able to get that victory in the quarters into the semis. Never ideal, but with the way Snake played today, I know Frostcode had mentioned it after game number 1. I feel like game number 3 was another leaf from the playbook of things that Snake can do to perhaps try and take down Victus Gaming.
You're absolutely right. It was fast and furious, early and aggressive. Just about every single lane was able to succeed off of SOFM's aggression, and early on in the series, we had to ask. Snake were on the back of a 3-series loss, and we asked the question, is it the team that has to match SOFM's style, or is it SOFM who has to change to match the meta, to match his team style? Well, I think this game is pretty clear evidence that SOFM is kind of the way to go for this team.
I think the major point is that they could do both, and they just need to pick one. If you want to work around SOFM, then work around SOFM. Pick winning lanes, set yourself up to succeed, and I will say, for what it's worth, this set is kind of capitulating the strengths and weaknesses of each respective roster, almost to a T. WE are not known as a drafting team. They've always had weaker drafts. They've always shown that they want Galio Jarvan though, so they'll pick that combo, but then tend to have losing lanes in most places, or they will just lose lanes even if they miraculously pick winning lanes. It's just the WE way of life. And against Snake, you have to win lane. You have to control lane, or you at least have to be able to pivot first to your jungler if something goes wrong, but We saw the losing lanes in this instance, at least the pressured lanes, with Guoguo unlocked, with top lane being shed into the Ornn. They're just clearing, it's nullified, and SOFM walks into the jungle. No one's there to save Magic, no one's there to help him, and that's where the inexperienced member of Team WE will get exploited, will get exposed, and is taken out.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out for WE in this Game 3, but now it's time for our analyst to break down what happened in that Snake win.
Thank you, Dom. And honestly, that game was almost a perfect game. For the majority of it, there was not a single kill, a single dragon, a single baron, nothing going over to Team WE. Of course, until, you know, Magic happened to jump over the one steal Baron for some reason. But apart from that, it was almost a perfect game coming out of Snake. And I feel like we've seen the multiple ways that Snake can actually win in this series.
It's almost like a microcosm for Snake, where it starts so good and everything's going right, and then just randomly at the very end, boop, Baron steal.
However, the story had a happy ending in this case, you know, because right now Snake is still half a series ahead of BLG. However, that does mean that our final game of the split, BLG versus EDG, will have a lot of meaning, because if BLG win that matchup against EDG, they will take the second spot. So it opens up the door now to BLG.
Yeah, the drama, the tension is high, and just kind of go back to congratulate Snake for actually having a great series against Team WE. I doubted them. I saw them on their loss streak. I saw them go down 2-0. Or 0-2 to OMG. I thought they had a bad read on the meta, but proved me wrong today. SOFM pulling out the Trundle jungle. It was one of the picks that actually destroyed him in that OMG series.
Yeah.
They had to ban away in game number 2. So showcasing that they are still adapting, that they are still learning, and they're trying to gather up a larger arsenal heading into playoffs.
And that's it, right? I feel like they've kind of changed their fate moving forwards, because it's like, this did feel like a microcosm, and it's just like, is this really going to end the way that it always ends for Snake, and they'll end up losing the series against WE, and it's all sad times once again in the history of Snake, but they actually turned it around. You're absolutely right. Like, they came with a bunch of different picks and strategies that they can show moving forward heading into playoffs. So I'm personally feeling a lot more hopeful about the future of Snake.
The question always then comes down to, though, the on the day individual performances, because no one is going to doubt SOFM.
Yeah.
People will doubt Crystal. People will doubt Hude. People will doubt Guoguo. Guoguo has what I like to call an effective or a limited effective champion pool. He looks great on the Rise. He looks phenomenal on the Galio. But if you start moving him around into other picks, suddenly his inexperience starts to show. So how much can SOFM and Flandre cover for the rest of this roster that is still very green and still learning a lot?
Trying to play around specific points on the team may be one way around it. You know, they've definitely played towards SOFM in this series. And in fact, SOFM will pick up our man of the match in our third game. And I do think that if we had a series MVP, it would definitely go to SOFM as well, because he was the linchpin around which everything revolved around.
I mean, frankly, the 2 games that Snake won in this series, SOFM did get man of the match. Oftentimes, he will get it next to Flandre. I believe he was the #1 MVP of this team before them, but I believe SOFM's caught him now. So we keep saying these names: Flandre, SOFM, Flandre,
Yes.
SOFM. If those 2 don't perform on the day, Snake will fall apart, because none of the other 3 members have been have showcased the consistency to step up. Maybe Guoguo, but you still have to look at that bottom lane. And then if you look at the other teams, Invictus Gaming, Royal Never Give Up, Edward Gaming, that's iBoy, Jackie Love, Uzi, and that's when Snake tend to fall down. Yes, Crystal stood strong against Mystic today, but Mystic has also been very inconsistent in his recent performances.
That was actually a question I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered it yourself. It's like, well, if SOFM has a poor game, if SOFM doesn't perform, perhaps he's exploited, he walks to Raptors and then dies, then what happens? Do they just implode? Do they just explode? What happens to Snake? But you're right, it does go around those other lanes, and it's just like, well, other people have to pick up the slack.
I mean, we literally saw what happened. Even as SOFM, everything goes right for him, as it did in game number 2 of this series. Snake ended up still losing because they couldn't team fight against Team WE, and a lot of that was on Crystal's positioning on the Draven. Yes, there were some miraculous, Galio ultimates. Yes,
Sure.
The champion pool comes into mind, but those late games, if Snake are going to continuously play this late game style, they do really rely on Flandre and Guoguo in the team fights, not on their ADC and their mid, which is completely different than any other team in the LPL. And again, that's where the Achilles heel can be.
It is very exciting to watch Snake, though, and I am excited to watch them move into playoffs. We don't know the seedings just yet. That will rely on our final game of the split. But again, we are going to take a look at the standings now. Moving out of today, we only have 2 games left, or rather 2 days left of the regular season here in Spring. And you can see the dots may have not necessarily changed too much today, but they definitely can over the next 2 days.
Look at all the dots. And BLG fans, it's a sad day because we only show the standings at the beginning, at the end. They had second. They had it for a split
They
second.
did.
And it's gone again. But like you said, it will come down to the very last game of the LPL, BLG versus Edward Gaming. And if BLG win, they will take the spot. And again, every spot counts in this weighted playoff bracket.
Yeah, we will also have our final East Conference day tomorrow as well, so look forward to that
Rogue
one. That
Warriors.
will, Rogue Warriors will be coming up, and also it would be deciding the fate between JD and Suna Gaming. So let's go ahead and take a look at the matches coming up tomorrow. As you said, Rogue Warriors will be taking on JD themselves. That'll be an exciting one, followed up by RNG versus TOP, and we'll round that day out with LGD and Invictus Game. Both of those last games are happening at the same time. We will just be covering RNG versus TOP.
And I know everyone is very excited tomorrow. We've got EULCS finals, NALCS finals, the LCK playoffs.
There's a lot.
Yeah, everything's coming at you. If you want to hit a really good game from the LPL, Rogue Warriors versus Jingdong, it will decide our final spot. And Rogue Warriors tend to struggle. Jingdong has a lot of rookies that, if you haven't heard of these names, Yagao, that guy, definitely up and coming.
And I actually think it decides that side of the bracket as well in terms of how difficult it is. Because if you look towards Rogue Warriors, they are the secondary boss, and then you have EDG at the end, right? And it's just like, well, actually, how difficult are RW to take down right now? Because they've had a massive upswing. We looked at how strong they were in the split, and they just kind of came together, this ragtag group, and then they actually looked incredibly strong, but have had their struggles recently. So that's kind of their last chance to prove how tough they are heading into playoffs.
It's also the question of, are Rogue Warriors a team of class, or are they a team of form? You know, class is temporary, form is forever, and they have a lot of veterans on that squad, but can they actually bounce back? Because we've seen Snake bounce back, we've seen RNG ramping up and bouncing back, EDG are getting their stuff together, and Invictus Gaming are terrifying, so Rogue Warriors is actually the final piece that if they show up tomorrow, suddenly every single one of our teams in playoffs has a good chance at making a run.
Yeah, they really are, and that will however, do it for today's broadcast, though. And make sure to tune in tomorrow as well. As you said, there is a lot of action happening all over the world, so I won't blame you to catch up on the VODs on that one. So thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you again tomorrow.